Hello. All right, here's an email from Emma. Emma says, "Hi Tabitha, I feel that I have been stuck in quasi-recovery December, and my feeling of not being sick enough has really showed my progress. I don't bake things, and although I do like baking, I think it's partly to do with my eating disorder because I eat little bits throughout making it, but never let myself actually eat the product when it's done. For example, excuse me, don't worry, I don't have that virus thing. Not going to die, at least I hope not. So where was I? Example, I would pick at the cookie dough and bake cookies, but never take a whole cookie because it registers I'm actually eating it. Any suggestions how to stop this? I used to do exactly the same thing. Although worse, I was massively obsessed with cooking and baking. Like, ridiculous. Just freaking ridiculous. I actually worked, that was one of my many jobs when I was sick, was cooking, just because I was so obsessed with it. So I'd make a load of stuff for everybody else to eat. I wouldn't eat it myself. I did the same thing as you, though. I pick up bits. I have little bits here and there. I'd have little tastes, and I'd never actually let myself actually eat it. Because exactly the same reason. It's like if I could pick up a whole cookie, I couldn't just eat a whole cookie because then my brain would be like, you just ate a whole cookie. Whereas if I was just taking bits, honestly, I probably ate much more than one whole cookie because I was just taking little bits, but it felt less scary and it felt more okay because I hadn't had one whole cookie. It's just, eating disorders make us so weird. So your brain is doing that. Your brain's trying to solve a problem. Problem being that your brain wants to eat the cookie dough, all of it. Your brain wants food. And then your eating disorder is like, well, I don't want to gain weight. And so your brain's trying to problem solve. It's trying to find a way to eat the food without actually gaining weight. And so that's why we tend to pick up food, taste little bits. I used to be really bad at taking a bite out of something and throwing it away, very wasteful and all those things. But all of this is an example of your brain trying to problem solve. It's got two conflicting desires here, or it's got one conflicting desire and then a fear associated with that desire. So, of course, we know what the answer to this problem is. You eat the fucking cookies. And I know that if you do that, then you're going to eat a lot of cookies. You're probably going to eat the whole tray of cookies. That's okay. You have to respond to your desire to eat. That's what unrestricted eating is. And so, of course, the answer to that question, if you're in recovery, you have to be eating without restriction. So therefore, the answer to that question is to eat, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All right. A lot of people said, bless you. Thank you. Very polite people here. Olivia, how to not feel guilty when sitting at uni all day? My head is driving me crazy. Well, the reason that you feel guilty is because ultimately it all boils down, like most things, it boils down to fear of weight gain. And remember, your brain is afraid of gaining weight, not your logical brainstem area, afraid of gaining weight, because logically you can want to gain weight and still act as if you're afraid of gaining weight. And when your brain is afraid of something, your brain's job is to protect you from that thing by generating emotions that make you want to not do things that might lead to that thing. And so in this case, your brain is afraid of that sitting down may lead to weight gain, and therefore it's generating an emotion to try and influence you not to want to sit down all day, and that's the guilt that you feel. That's your brain trying to say, human, don't sit, you got to keep moving because you might gain weight. So your brain doesn't want you to sit, your brain wants you to move. And we could also take that background to the migration hypothesis. Your brain is afraid that if you're still, you won't be migrating. Whatever the reason is, your brain is afraid of this stillness. And therefore, it's trying to motivate you not to be still. And it's going to use emotions to do that. And it's going to make you feel bad about being still. Now, what you have to do is you have to be able to recognize that process and go like, oh, there's that guilt. That's my brain doing its job. Thank you very much, brain. And I'm going to rewire you. I'm going to train you that I do not have to be afraid of this stillness. Now, you don't train your brain that you're not afraid of stillness by moving around, do you? And you don't train your brain that you're not afraid of stillness by reacting to those feelings of guilt. How you train your brain that you're not afraid of stillness is by sitting and being still as much as possible and eating as much food as possible whilst you are doing it. That is how you rewire that. always, pretty much, when we're trying to rewire something, it's about going in and you've got to do the thing that you're most afraid of. Your brain is saying you're sitting too much, you're eating too much. What do? You sit more and you eat more because you teach your brain, no, brain, that is not true. And your brain's amazing. It'll learn it, promise. All right. Oh, so many questions. Okay. Liz says, how to handle fear of missing out when friends go and exercise and you shouldn't really want to. Well, I know that at the beginning, like I'd have these two things. I'd have like, I want to go and exercise because somebody else is exercising. That felt like a compulsion. That felt like I had to. That felt like I should. It wasn't actually that I wanted to, not if I was honest. I was exhausted. Like who in their right mind would be like, that's fun, going for a gym or going for a run? It's not fun. You don't want to do it. You feel like you should do it. And those are very different things. So you got to focus on what does a person in recovery do? A person in recovery eats and rests. The end. Doesn't matter what your friends are doing. This is between you and your body. And be honest about it. You don't really want to do it anyway. Danielle, why do you think I binge on the same food, Nutella, every single night? I've done it for about 4 months, but I don't get tired of it. Used to do the same thing. Who knows? Who cares? Keep eating Nutella and eat loads of other things as well. You're in energy deficit. Your body wants to eat something that tastes great that's really high in energy. So it's choosing Nutella. I think most of us have our own little things. Like I love Nutella. I love peanut butter. I used to go to jars of peanut butter for years. So don't worry about that. Worry about getting out of energy deficit, which means eating more because you're evidently still in energy deficit. You might be eating a jar of Nutella every night, but you're probably restricting all day long in order to make that feel okay. Your job is to stop the restriction. Eleanor, how do you suggest someone gets back to a normal eating schedule, 3 meals a day plus snacks, when a person's been sick for so many years and then you're grazing throughout the day and eating at night? You force yourself to. That's the answer to that question. Cassie, how do you deal with the guilt after responding to extreme hunger? It always happens at the end of the day or middle of the night, sweets or salty things. Go back to what I said in the beginning. Understand the reason that the guilt is there. The guilt is there because your brain is trying to protect you from something it fears. In this case, you've taught your brain via actions that weight gain is something to be avoided because you've been acting as if weight gain is a bad thing for a long time. And so your brain thinks that weight gain is a threat to you. Therefore, if you do something like binge, then your brain's going to be like, human, don't do that. This is bad. It could lead to weight gain. This is something that we're afraid of. It's like your brain slapping your wrist and saying, don't do that. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. And you've got to teach your brain, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I'm not afraid of weight gain. I'm going to teach you not to be afraid of weight gain. But you've got to pretend you're not. And you've got to act as if you're not. And then your brain's going to cross and on eventually if you continue to act as if you're not afraid of weight gain. So what you have to do is the guilt's going to come because your brain is doing its job when it delivers that guilt. So what you have to be able to do is go, oh, there's the guilt that I knew was coming. You know it's going to come. I mean, you're the one that you just wrote me a question saying it's going to come. So you know the guilt is going to come if you binge. So there's no excuse for being taken by surprise by the guilt. You're not. You know it's coming. So when it comes, you've got to go like, oh, hi, guilt. Thank you very much for being here. I don't need you anymore. See ya. You've got to be able to categorize it and shift it to one side. And you really can do that. You don't have to jump into the guilt. You can sit outside of the guilt and allow it to be there because your brain's going to keep generating it. Can't stop your brain doing that just yet. It'll stop doing it once you've rewired it. But the brain's going to generate the guilt when you eat more than usual, or you binge, or anything like that, or you sit, or whatever it is. Your brain's going to generate guilt, and you have to be able to teach your brain that that guilt is no longer relevant. And if you react to the guilt and go, oh my God, my brain is so right, I'm so guilty, that's not teaching your brain that the guilt's irrelevant, is it? That's actually teaching your brain that the guilt is relevant, which is not what we're going to do. You have to be able to step outside of the guilt and go like, the guilt is there, but I'm not going to react to it. Ignore, 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 ignore. Push it away. And then after a while, your brain will get the message and be like, well, she's ignoring the guilt, so maybe we don't have to feel guilty anymore. Your brain's super quick. It will cotton on, I promise. Okay, I have to go.